You know that feeling, right? That little twinge, that sudden sharp pain, or just that nagging ache in your lower back? Well, if you've ever felt it, you are definitely not alone. It's one of the most common things we experience as humans. But what if I told you that for most of us, the actual reason why is a total mystery? All right, let's get into this global ache and see if we can finally figure it out. Okay, first, let's just try to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this problem. The World Health Organization estimates that back in 2020, about 619 million people on this planet were dealing with low back pain. I mean, that number is just wild. To put it in perspective, that's about 1 out of every 13 people in the entire world.
And right here, this is the twist. This is the central puzzle we're going to try and solve today. For the huge majority of those 619 million people, there isn't one single obvious thing a doctor can point to, like a slip disc or a specific injury and say, aha, there's your problem.
And let's be really clear, this isn't just about feeling uncomfortable. Low back pain is the #1 cause of disability in the world. It stops people from going to work, from playing with their children, from just living. It's like this silent epidemic with enormous global consequences. So, how do we even begin to tackle this 90% mystery? Well, it starts with understanding a really important difference between two types of back pain. Getting this right changes everything about how we approach the problem.
So the vast majority of cases fall into this bucket that researchers call non-specific low back pain, or NSLBP for short. And as you can see from this NIH definition, it basically means pain where there's no smoking gun. Your X-ray or MRI might look perfectly fine, but the pain you're feeling is absolutely real.
And I mean, this chart just lays it all out, doesn't it? It's so clear. Only that tiny little 10% slice of the pie is specific pain, where you can trace it back to a fracture or a disease. The other 90%? Well, that's the big mystery zone we're digging into.
So if it's not one single broken part, what's actually happening? Well, the research points to NSLBP being more like a perfect storm. It's not caused by one thing, but it's influenced by a whole mix of factors. Things like weak core muscles, the stress we carry around every day, how we sit, even our weight, they all play a part. The big takeaway here is we have to stop looking for one thing to blame.
And that, of course, leads us to the most important question of all. If there's no single target, no one thing that's broken, what are we supposed to do about it? Well, it means we have to completely change our approach. We have to stop looking for a magic bullet and start building a smart, personal strategy for becoming more resilient. And this is where it gets really empowering. Think of it like building a toolkit. Instead of just hoping for one tool to solve everything, we're going to assemble a whole set of tools, strategies that are proven to work, that address all those different factors we just saw. This is all about putting you back in the driver's seat. We can pretty much organize this whole toolkit into 3 main sections, and this is our roadmap. First, how we move our bodies and build strength. Second, how we set up our daily environment. And third, and this is a big one, how our lifestyle, especially what we eat, can affect inflammation and pain.
All right, let's open up that toolkit and start with pillar number 1, movement and strength. This is, without a doubt, one of the most powerful tools we have, and the science behind it is just incredibly solid.
So a huge review from the National Institutes of Health really focused in on something called core stabilization exercises, or CSE, and the findings were just crystal clear. Doing these kinds of targeted exercises doesn't just lower your pain, it helps you function better day to day, it builds real strength in those deep core muscles, and maybe most importantly, it gives you the power to manage your own health. And this quote right here highlights the biggest mental shift we need to make. For decades, the advice for a bad back was always rest. Go lie down. But the evidence now, overwhelmingly, shows the exact opposite is true. As the NIH review says, staying active is one of the best things you can do. It's simple. Movement is medicine. Okay, on to our second pillar, environment and ergonomics. Now, this is something you might not think about, but for so many of us, our biggest challenge is the modern office and that one simple thing we do all day, sitting. Research on ergonomics shows this really stark difference. When you're just locked in one position, sitting for hours on end, you're just overloading your system. Your muscles get tired, and you even start to lose your body's natural sense of where it is in space. The solution? To be dynamic. It's all about changing your position, breaking up those long sitting marathons, and just creating a more flexible setup. And there's hard evidence for this.
The same research shows that things like sit-stand workstations aren't just a cool office trend. They have been scientifically proven to help reduce chronic low back pain. It's a perfect example of how a small change in your environment can make a huge difference. All right, let's get to our third and final killer. And this is the one that so often gets ignored when we talk about back pain: lifestyle and inflammation. We tend to think of back pain as just a mechanical problem, but what's going on inside our bodies on a chemical level is incredibly important. This quote from the University of Wisconsin's Integrative Health Department explains it perfectly. Think of it like this: a little bit of inflammation, like when you get a cut, that's a good thing. It's a controlled fire that helps you heal. But chronic, low-grade inflammation, that's like a fire that never really goes out. It's just smoldering in the background, slowly causing damage all over your body, including your back.
So, the big question is, how do we manage that internal fire? Well, one of the most powerful ways is through our diet. A Mediterranean-style diet, for example, is one of the most studied ways of eating to reduce that chronic smoldering inflammation. It's full of fruits, vegetables, and healthy fats, all the good stuff that helps calm your body's inflammatory response.
Okay, so we've explored the 90% mystery, and we've laid out the 3 pillars of our toolkit. So where do we go from here? Well, the path forward is all about letting go of old habits and myths, and instead choosing strategies that are backed by real, solid science.
And this table right here, based on guidelines from the World Health Organization, just says it all. Look at the focus on column: exercise, education, ergonomics, psychological support. Things that empower you. Now look at the avoid column: strong opioids, traction, belts. For so long, many of these avoid things were standard. The science is now telling us to go in a totally new, more active, and way more empowering direction.
And this really is the single biggest takeaway. We have to change the way we think about back pain. It's not about waiting for someone to give you a passive cure. It's about you taking part in an active, ongoing process of building a stronger, more resilient body and lifestyle.
Movement, your environment, your lifestyle. These aren't some complicated things that are out of reach. They are the tools right there in your toolkit, and you can start using them today to take back control. So I'll just leave you with this one question. Not what will you do tomorrow or next week, but today. Maybe it's a 5-minute walk. Maybe it's standing up to take a phone call. Or maybe it's just adding some broccoli to your dinner. What's the one small active step you'll take to start building a more resilient back?
Thank you for being here with me today. Remember, small choices create big changes. Keep nourishing your health with love and consistency. See you in the next Vital Elixir video.